how can I believe in something I can't even see? And what about science? Does it mean faith isn't real? It's okay to have questions. Actually, it's good to have questions. This series is about asking the hard questions and discovering a faith that makes sense.
Okay, well, Jesus, when he was asked what the most important commandment was, he said, you must love the Lord your God, and you might have heard this before, with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your mind. Jesus said this is the first, and it is also the greatest commandment. Then 15 centuries later, Galileo, who was also a Christian, a follower of the teachings of Jesus, but a scientist and one of the most advanced minds in human history, he said this: I don't feel obliged to believe that the same God who has endowed us with senses, reason, and intellect has intended for us to forego their use. He's basically saying the same thing Jesus is saying, where he's like, you can come to God with your heart and your feelings and your emotions and the touchy-feelies, and that's fine, but you can also come to him with your mind and with your intelligence and your intellect and critically think about who and why and how and all of those things too. He wouldn't have given us those things if he didn't expect us to use them. So they're basically saying the same thing. You shouldn't have to check your brain at the door when it comes to believing in God. So this morning, I hope you brought your brains, and I hope you brought your Bibles, because we're going to be in both this morning, but first, the brain part. So buckle up, because it's going to get heavy, and it's going to get weird. Okay, so picture this. There are two tiny particles, like photons, okay? And they're created at the same time in the same place. They are like quantum twins, okay? Now, in the moment they're born, they become entangled. So they're sort of related in some type of way, like imagine human twins. But for the particles, they're sharing a quantum state, meaning whatever happens to one, the other will instantly and inversely be affected, no matter how far apart they are. It's like if you and your best friend had a magical coin, and you had yours here in Texas, and your friend went all the way to Tokyo, and you flipped the coin, and boom, it landed on tails. At the exact same time, for no explainable reason whatsoever, all the way in Tokyo, your friend's coin would flip and land, boom, heads. They're like complementing each other, and this would happen every single time perfectly and without fail. Why? How? This defies all of the laws of known physics, and we still can't explain it, even over 150 years after this idea was first discovered. There's Einstein, you've probably heard of him, 150 years ago. He knew about this, and he called it spooky action at a distance. He believed that there had to be some hidden message being shared between these two particles that are quantumly entangled. Like, how can they communicate? Is it the speed of light? No, it's actually faster than that, but light is the universal speed limit. So how can something move faster than the speed of light? There has to be some connection. But experiments starting in the 1970s and proven without loopholes in 2015 showed that Einstein was wrong. There is nothing connecting these two particles. No signal is traveling between them, yet they still complement each other instantaneously somehow. And it's not that one particle changes another, it's that they were never separate to begin with, even though they are. And what's crazy is that this can happen at extreme distances, even across galaxies and galaxies, millions and millions of light years away from one another. These two quantumly entangled particles are linked instantly, like teleportation. How? This is one of the things that science can't explain. And it's on a list with a couple of other things, like this other one I like called superposition. Maybe you've heard of it. Superposition is the quantum principle that a particle can exist in multiple possible states at the same time. So that's like being in two places at once. But it's only until it is observed. I don't want to get too into this because it would just be a lot, but it's been demonstrated and proven in quantum physics through this experiment called the double slit experiment. Look into it on your own time. It'll blow your mind. It's super weird. Basically, imagine there's like a door, and you know how there's the crack underneath the door? And let's just say there's 2 doors, and you roll a marble on the floor at the 2 doors. It's either gonna hit the wall in between the doors, right? Or it's gonna go underneath one or the other and hit the wall on the other side, right? Like, that's what marbles do. But only when you're watching. It had been scientifically observed and data has been collected showing and proving, in fact, that when you do this with an electron and you watch it, it behaves how you think an electron should. It goes through one of the slits. When you turn your back on it, it goes through both slits at the same time, making a crazy pattern on the second wall behind it for no explainable reason whatsoever. The only explanation is that at some point it divides and is in 2 places at the same time. We don't know why. We don't know how it happens. It just does. We've been trying to figure it out for 100 years. In 1935, this guy named Erwin Schrödinger came up with a thought experiment to explain to us just how insane this would be. He said he wants to illustrate this concept of superposition, 2 things being at the same place at the same time. So let's take that particle and make it as big as a cat. And we got to put the cat in a box, like a perfect box. And inside the box there's going to be this rotating particle that's in this fluctuating state between like being active and decayed. And that is going to trigger this poison that's going to kill the cat. And if the particle can split and be in the same place at the same time in superposition, that means it's both releasing the poison and not releasing the poison at the same time. So at any time when you open the cat or the box, the cat is either going to be dead or alive when you view it, right? Because when you observe it, it acts how it's supposed to act, just like the marble under the door. But when you're not looking inside the box, it's both dead and alive. The cat is in the box, both dead and alive, until you view it. Then it has to pick one. Isn't that insane? Isn't that insane? I don't know about you, but when I think about these things like quantum entanglement, superposition, I worship. I don't know, like a dead cat in a box just gets me fired up about Jesus for some reason. Maybe I'm the only one, but but I started to think about, dude, like the world is so mysterious. We're just discovering these crazy things about how it works, and I feel like we're just getting started. We've only been around for like, thousands of years? If God is billions or even infinite, like, he's got to know how things can be at the same place at the same time. He's got to know how things can travel instantaneously across light years and galaxies. We don't know how yet. We're just observing it and we're thinking, dang, it must be awesome, right? And on the topic of infinity, I want to show a video that I think really it's kind of long. It's like 4 minutes long. And if you're as big of a nerd as me, which some of y'all are, some of you are not, and that's okay. But I hope either way, you'll still find this video fast. What? So what? Who cares, right? I like things like this because I think that us thinking about things and trying to comprehend infinity and God, who says he's outside of space and time, they blow our minds in a way that we can't possibly comprehend. But this is just a sliver of who God is and what he's even capable of. Like, we're just seeing a slice. What more could this God possibly be capable of? And what if he's been telling us who he is all along in the ways that we've been able to receive it all along? For example, a couple of thousand years later, this thing was written called the Bible. Now's the Bible part. You can follow along if you want. But Paul, he wrote this letter to the Colossians. So we're going to be in Colossians chapter 1, actually going to be all over the place. But in Colossians, at the time, they didn't know anything about quantum entanglement. They didn't know anything about superposition or quantum physics or science or anything, right? But he gets these words from God and writes down the Son, being Jesus, in Colossians 1:15, is the image of the invisible God. So something that's not visible has become visible. The firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created. Things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, is before, not was before, he is before. He was, okay? And in him all things hold presently together. In another verse, looking at John 1, in the beginning, John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word. This is Jesus. So he was there. And he was, the Greek translation says he was always. He was always wasing. He always has been. He was there in the beginning, and Jesus was with God, and Jesus was, in fact, actually God. Past tense, but perpetual past. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made, looking presently. And that present is a present active, so it continues on forever. Always was, is, and always will be. How is Jesus there at the beginning? How did he apparently physically embody a human life for 33 years, a couple thousand ago? And how is he here with us now in some invisible type of way? And holding all things together, and somehow in the future, waiting for us in eternity. Maybe Jesus is just some cosmic time traveler. Maybe it's quantum entanglement. Maybe it's superposition. Maybe it's something different that we are trying to explain, but just simply can't comprehend. The question becomes, can you trust him anyway? This is what I want to get to this morning, is simply this question. Can you trust Jesus anyway? Can you trust God even if you can't explain him? Can you trust God even if you can't understand him? And weirdly, we trust people and things without understanding or explaining them fully all of the time, right? Like a simple example is the chair that you're sitting in right now. Do you know everything about the chair you're sitting in right now? No, not at all. Do you know where it was made? No. Do you know the life story of every person in the factory and distribution center that created it and shipped it here and got it here and how it all came to be and how it happened? And no. Have you looked at the receipts of the purchasing? No. Do we need to know all of these things before we decide to finally just trust it enough to have a seat? No. We would never sit down. You would never know everything about everything. You can't. So you have to trust. At some point, you just have to trust. At some point, you have to just say, look, it just is. I can't explain it. I don't understand it. I don't know how, but it is. So I'm going to put my trust in it. So why do we apply this to the Bible, to God? Like, I don't understand him fully. I can't trust him fully. You do that with everything all the time, like every day. I'm reminded of the blind guy in John chapter 9. Remember? He was blind and then he could see because he had this encounter with Jesus, and people are asking him, like, who was the guy that healed you? How can you all of a sudden see now? Tell me the science behind it. Like the photons, the newtons, the cones, and the rods in your eyes, like how does it work? He's like, look, dude, I don't know. I don't even know if the guy was a sinner or not. John 9:25. The one thing I do know is just that I was blind and now I can see. That's it. There's just evidence. So I believe. I can't explain it. Could the guy have done some research? Sure. Could he have learned more? Sure. Just like we could learn more about the chair. Just like we could learn more about God and the universe and everything and what it all means and why and how. And that's fine. You don't have to, but you can. And for me, when I do, it builds my faith. But God knew that too. In Jeremiah 29, he says, you will seek me and you will find me if you seek me with your whole heart. This is like a guarantee. And the heart is connected to the mind, remember? Love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. Maybe miracles are explainable through science that we just haven't discovered yet. Maybe they're not. I don't know about you, but I am going with the guy who made the blind see. I am going with the guy who raised the dead. I am going with the guy who showed up in human form, claiming to be God, and then proved it when he died on a cross and then rose again, witnessed by hundreds of eyewitnesses 3 days later. I'm going with that guy. And look, the Bible, I'll finish with this. It contains these prophecies about that guy. Prophecies are like predictions, saying, oh, he'll be born here. He'll live this way. He'll say these things at this time. And I want to give it some scientific analysis to send you off with about how unlikely all of these things being true about Jesus actually are. And then we're done. Number one, silver dollar Texas. Imagine you cover the entire state of Texas 2 feet deep in silver dollars. That's about 10 to the 17th coins, which is about 100 quadrillion. That's how much it would take. If you marked one of those with an X, blindfolded someone, and tell them to pick a coin on the first try, that's roughly the odds calculated for just 8 of the prophecies in the Bible pertaining to Jesus being fulfilled in one person. But there weren't just 8 prophecies about Jesus that were fulfilled. There were hundreds. Hundreds. Number 2, sand on earth. Picture every grain of sand on every beach on the planet Earth. If you picked one specific grain, buried it in a random location at a random depth anywhere on the planet, and asked someone to, on the first try, go out and find that one grain, you'd still be way more likely to pull that off than for the hundreds of specific time-stamped, fulfilled biblical prophecies to occur by coincidence that were in Jesus. The last one, the universal dart throw. Imagine throwing a dart from Earth, and it could just go on forever with no resistance. And your target, one specific atom somewhere in another galaxy billions of light years away. You hit it perfectly on the first try. You might not be able to explain it, but I encourage you, I challenge you to believe it because it's true.